All right, YouTube. He's probably going to be wrong, but it's Mike from the Probably Wrong podcast. What's going on, buddy?
Not much, bud. Usually my takes are, so.
All right, Mike. So you've been back into wrestling for about the summer of last year, maybe a little bit longer than that, right?
Exactly, yeah. Yep.
All right. So what has drawn you to kind of want to pick this match and preview? We got Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre in a Sin City street fight.
I've become a huge fan of Drew McIntyre. I absolutely love him. I love him when he gets on the mic. I love the little mockery. I love it after he jumps Priest and they're holding him back and he's got the arms up. Like, I've become a big fan of this guy.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy too because you're not really supposed to, right? He doesn't want to be the cool heel. He just wants you to fucking repel against him. He wants you to hate him, but he knows what he's doing.
He's just too good right now on the mic. Like he's to me, his little back and forths and his little quips, just his reactions, his facial reactions. It's almost like everything's coming together for this guy for me. And it's just, he's the perfect heel. And I never want him to change this. I like the direction he's going right now, you know? So we'll see what comes out of this match.
All right, so about 5 years ago or so, he was in the Jey Uso spot right now, heading into WrestleMania as a zero-time champion, just winning the Royal Rumble, and WrestleMania happens to be in the Performance Center and with no fans because of COVID hit, right? So he was an up-and-coming, it's finally his time. Through and through, he was always like the next big thing, but he really had a hard time click. He ended up getting released from the WWE and being gone for about 3 to 4 years, coming back, playing the system, working his way up. And then when it was his time 5 years ago, COVID hit. He did an admirable job, but he faced Brock Lesnar with no fans in a 4-minute Haas fight, right? And then when he went on his title run, there were still no fans. By the time they came back, people were kind of sick of him being up top, right? So this heel direction has a lot of angst and a lot of probably true feelings for himself. So all this stuff you're connecting with kind of comes to him rather naturally.
Yeah. Yep. It pulls. I went back, Ryan, and watched some of these matches before, and I was just, if he continued that way, even though he was kind of on top, is what you're trying to say, he was getting up there, I didn't like that version of Drew.
Yeah.
I didn't, that was like, I'm like, and watching him now, I mean, like you said, if it's a little bit more of him coming out, it's perfect. Like it's hooked me in. And, you know, and I look at it, I see the crowd reaction. I mean, it's not your typical heel, I think. Like the boos, I think there are a lot more people than just me who actually kind of like this guy now.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely has like a hardcore base behind him that's totally into him, if he likes it or not. But look, I think he likes it. You know what I compare it to? You'll like this. You're an old school fan. I compare it to like 5 years ago, it was Diesel. Now he's like Kevin Nash, right?
Yeah.
He's shedded that Diesel skin, and now you can just see how awesome kick-ass he really is.
That's a perfect comp. That really is. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, because in the beginning, in the way that he matured and everyone, you know, Diesel, you know, Kevin Nash is like the whole NWO. Yeah, that was a good comp, Ryan. You know, you really know what you're doing here.
Yeah, a little bit. All right, now Damian Priest on the other side here. What do you think of him? Damian Priest is kind of like a guy that when he broke through was like a heavier guy. He was probably up there, 350 pounds. He was like this chubby, like sinister, like it seemed like he was kind of out of style in a way with how he was trying to present himself. And he was in like Ring of Honor where it's like flashy small wrestlers that are, you know, heavy in-ring technical wizards. And then you have this Priest guy who's a little chubby, trying to figure it out. He thinks he's to kind of compare it, who thinks he's Scott Hall, who admires Scott Hall and really wants to kind of just play into that machismo that he has. But that machismo and that inner coolness was really kind of hard to reflect on the stage. And then he finds himself in NXT. He gets under the learning tree of Triple H and Shawn Michaels, who are pretty tight with Scott Hall, right? And throughout the years. And I don't know, they kind of help guide him to have that natural charisma too, to connect with the fans. He finds himself being a little like over pushed in NXT, but once he kind of comes up to WWE, he has this underlining kind of groundswell for him too, because he's just a grinder, really. He puts his head down, he goes to work, and he just puts out good, strong, like work in ring, character wise, so on and so forth. And then when he gets in the Judgment Day, he blows up. He hits a home run. He was the de facto leader of Judgment. Him and Rhea were like the 1A and 1B of the Judgment Day, and it really hasn't been the same since both of them left. But since then, overall, what's your kind of feeling on Priest since he's found himself on SmackDown? Is he kind of as popular and as big as he should have been on Raw?
See, I came in right after he had left Judgment Day, so I had to actually go back to watch a little bit of that. Yeah. I think he's kind of lost.
Well, I get that sense too.
And I'm just waiting for him because, like you said, like I feel that he's got that Scott Hall and a little bit of the Undertaker. Like they just the way that he comes out and he has some of the Undertaker's moves and some of Hall's moves.
He moves like Undertaker and he acts like Hall. Yeah, it's a good call.
I just think that he like they're struggling with him. I don't know. He hasn't found what they're doing with him. So my son likes Damian Priest. So going into this match, it's going to be great because I'm huge McIntyre and he's Damian Priest. But I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with him, Ryan. Like I think that he has all the tools. It just they need to figure out a place for him to just explode.
Yeah, it's like he's got to kind of shed that Judgment Day skin, right? And kind of find his footing and see where he's going. Because there's definitely still something there. And obviously they're putting him in a prominent spot here at WrestleMania. So they still believe him and they still have future big plans for him as they should.
But he's the tools. He can fight. You give him the microphone and he's not a bore out there. He's not stumbling, you know. He
has a lot of natural charisma too. Yeah. So I don't know. It's like both these guys are kind of in a spot where they kind of need the win from a character aspect to get momentum, to kind of see where they're going into the spring, into the summer. I feel anyways.
This needs to be highlight reel at the highlight reel with these guys. And I think it'll take one of them. I mean, if you lose this match and you come out having a great match, this is what's going to, I think, I don't want to say make or break, but propel one of these guys.
Yeah. So I was curious why they haven't really played into this much. Maybe they do on the final SmackDown here. They just made it really personal and they wanted to like highlight the strong attributes in the match we'll have, because the story, I don't know, they just seem uninterested in the story. They just kind of want to kill each other, which is fine. But the back line of the story should be that Priest won the world title off McIntyre last year at WrestleMania 40, and when he cashed in his Money in the Bank, and he propelled himself to have a really strong 2024. But that was more about Punk, and Priest kind of adapted to the circumstances and, you know, did the right thing with Money in the Bank and made it work. But I'm surprised they haven't really played into that, right?
Yeah, it's just sometimes they just lost direction in it. I don't know. I don't know if it was creating the pop and they tried to go away from it. I don't know. It's just, Ryan, I'm afraid that he's going to end up back in the Judgment Day.
Really? I don't think that's going to happen. I think he could create his own. Maybe that's how he finds himself, when he creates his own little gimmick. But I don't know if he's going to go back. That would make him kind of be.
That's what I'm saying. I just see everything unfolding with Dom and Finn and everything unfolding with that. And Priest looking for a way. They're looking for a new member. They're looking to hook. And I'm like, oh, please don't make this be a reunion. Please don't make, you know. I mean, it would work in the short time, but I hope that's not the direction they go with them.
I'd be shocked, but hey, never say never, right?
It is the WWE, you know?
Yep. All right, so match formula and structure-wise, it's going to be chaotic and awesome. Now, have you gone back and watched Damian Priest versus Bad Bunny?
No.
All right, that's some homework before WrestleMania. Backlash 2023. You and your son will enjoy that immensely. Priest is great in these street fight, chaotic atmospheres, right? Where he can just let loose and just work to his strong attributes here. So I would go check that one out. The crowd is incredible. Bad Bunny's entrance is incredible. And Priest, that's where he garnered all the respect from like the back room guys that make the decisions. Be like, wow, this guy can handle a big stage. And he totally outkicked what he kind of should have done. The match is fantastic.
All right. Check it out. I like it. I grew a lot of respect for this guy. I loved that him and Finn match a few months back.
Yeah, same structure where it's wild on the what was that, the second or third Netflix, I think it was, or whatever. I know exactly what you're talking about too. Yeah, another thing that's kind of crazy and wild. So yeah. All right. I mentioned to you that you put me in my place a little bit when I was like, oh man, I was a little nervous that Drew's injury was gonna kind of be a little bit real when they with the eye patch or whatever. And there was hints that there was a WrestleMania match that was in jeopardy, and it was the Kevin Owens match, right? But I was like a little nervous. So I was like, hey, you want to do this match? And I'm a little nervous for it. And you're like, oh, I think it's gonna be fine, you dumb Mark. So you put me in my place.
And they just kind of ran with it a little bit, and it worked. So,
But I wasn't really nervous, but I was a little bit nervous. But you put me right in my place, and I enjoy that.
you fell for it.
All right. Before we get to our picking our winners here, which one do you think needs it more? Which one could outlast a loss? Is Priest need it more? Is Drew bulletproof? Or does like Priest need to win this match so he can face Cena? Maybe he could face Cody, the winner of that coming out of this, if it's not or down the line afterwards. Or is Priest in that spot, so to speak? Or what? I think this is kind of 50-50, honestly. I think Priest needs it a little bit more, though. What do you think?
I think Priest needs it more. I mean, coming from a fan of really loved watching this, I don't want to see a Priest Cena. I don't want to see a Priest Uso. I don't want to see, like, if Gunther wins. I don't want to see. I'm looking at those matches, and they don't have the pop for me that if Drew wins.
Yeah.
You know, if Drew wins, what do you think? Who do you think he's going to go with next? Because I really think that Drew's the guy they're going to propel out of this. I think he's coming away with this win.
Yeah, I would have him I kind of agree with you too. Twist my arm that Drew's going to win. I think he would be in line probably after Randy Orton to face a John Cena or Cody, for those guys, the knockdown challengers after WrestleMania. And I think that Drew would be in perfect place for that. Even though I'd rather see him win the world title when he's around it again. Right.
I agree. I think, and I know I'm just looking forward to that match. I know if this is going to be a long shot, but if Drew loses this, right, and Damian Priest wins it, I think that almost blocks up. I don't see him up in the Cena Orton in that category yet. I see him, because we really haven't seen this match much lately, at least I haven't, is Uso wins, Damian Priest wins this match, and you're going to see Uso Damian Priest story unfold.
That would be funny because Uso was Priest's first challenger when Priest won the title last year. So it's like they're that gatekeeper guy in that role to kind of make it work. All right, I can see that again. It was a good match, so I can see. But that's weird because are you thinking that Priest turns into like a bad guy, a heel, or
he's got to? I mean, look at it. If Drew wins, they're not having those matches again. You're not going to see Drew and Uso. I don't think that's going to be a good match, right? So, and if Priest keeps going, I don't know, Ryan. I've actually thought about this, and the dream here is Drew wins and we see a Drew Cena coming up later on. Because I still think Cena is going to turn back.
I think he will too. Yeah. Yeah, that would be on my Cena menu for 2025 in his final run for sure. I think Drew would do phenomenal with like a babyface Cena, looking to end him early and stuff like that. So that'd be good. All right, I got a scenario for Priest with you. Even if it's just like a SmackDown match or whatever, it doesn't have to be a pay-per-view on a big stage. Say Fatu wins the title, U.S. title. What about Priest in Fatu? I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, that would be great. That would be great.
Yeah,
His run right now, that would be
That'd be a lot of energy, a lot of chaos.
Great, and you could really keep that story going for a little while too. You could have a nice back and forth with these two guys. So that's a good one, Ryan. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I like that. I figured you would. I know you like Fatu.
And I think coming out of this, whether Priest wins or loses, you could go that way.
Yeah, true.
Right?
Yeah, I think. Well, here's the thing. I'm with you. I think Drew wins to get himself ready for later in the year, and then no harm, no foul for a loss against Drew McIntyre in a street fight. And then I think that Priest finds himself on the downfall and Fatu finds himself on the rise, and they kind of collide on the way up and down a little bit. I still think Priest will be fine this year, obviously, because they're putting him in a prominent spot here at WrestleMania. I just don't think it's his time yet. I think he has to go through some shit before he gets back up top.
Right. And that Fatu, watching those two go at it. Even if you're saying Priest is on his way down, that's going to be some good matchup. That's going to be some great matches, and I think it'll take both of them. No matter who comes out of that.
Yeah. So
that's what I'm pushing for now, Ryan. I like that. That's the one theory I didn't think of, and all right.
Let's cook that up. All right, Mike, Probably Wrong podcast every Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Facebook. Find it, and you guys can watch it on live or post. I try to catch it live, but I mostly catch it in post. And then what else we got coming up this weekend too?
You're coming on the show next Wednesday, and then
Wednesday.
We have this Wednesday, that's right. And then we have our new, I think, our fun little thing, the wrestling show that we put on. So we'll be diving WrestleMania, breaking all of these down, trying to keep it without going 3 hours long.
Well, we're gonna have time restraints because you're starting at 6, so I think we'll have to breeze through it. Not a lot of side conversations with Tony about 1980s wrestling, but we'll make it work.
That's what he brings. That's what he's waiting for. Tony, we can't be going down these rabbit holes. We got to keep this on pace this week. So
I'm interested.
I was just looking at the breakdowns. So we get a lot of matches.
All right, well, that's going to be the final stretch of WrestleMania preview. I'll probably throw it up on the channel here Saturday as well, and you can find me and Mike's full WrestleMania deep dive this weekend coming your way.
Right, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, guys. See you on the next one. Thank you.